everyone, and welcome to the Roundup, where every single week we go through the biggest pieces of news and the best fantasy analysis from fantasylife.com to help you dominate your fantasy leagues. We've got Kyler Murray back this week. We've got a running back upgrade and downgrade. We've got a lot to get to, so let's get into it with the Roundup. We saw a historic game from C.J. Stroud, which saw him set a new rookie record with 470 passing yards, which also propelled him to fantasy glory with 41.8 fantasy points on the week and a QB1 finish. But do we think this trend can continue? The short answer is yes. We do believe that C.J. Stroud can continue this incredible rookie season. But let's really look at what he's done. We're on the Board Pro 75 here on fantasylife.com. He has 14 touchdowns compared to 1 interception on the season. And right now, his pace for a 17-game season sets him at 4,825 yards, which would break Andrew Luck's record. So CJ Stroud has not only been performing at an incredible level, but he's done really well and looked really good doing it. We've talked about it before on this show, that rookie quarterbacks are supposed to be projects. You're not supposed to look necessarily at a final product, but you're supposed to watch the growth and the production that comes with it. But CJ Stroud has still been producing at such a high level for a rookie quarterback. We can see it here. Ian Hartitz wrote this out on fantasylife.com, but EPA per dropback, number 7 among 35 quarterbacks with 100 plus dropbacks. PFF passing grade, 75.4, which is number 12. Passer rating, number 4, and then yards per attempt sitting at number 3. So CJ Stroud has been producing, and it has just been an incredible rookie season. But now let's look at the schedule to make sure that this still can continue for the next 8 weeks of the season. Not that you need one more reason to continue to be excited about CJ Stroud, but here is the schedule for the next 8 weeks of the season. This is fantasy points per game allowed to quarterbacks. So you've got the Bengals in week 10 sitting at number 19. You've got the Cardinals at number 24, the Jaguars number 28, and the Broncos at number 25. Then it gets a little bit tougher. You've got number 7 with the Jets, number 13 with the Titans, number 2 with the Browns, and then number 13 again with the Tennessee Titans. So as we can see here, weeks 14 and 16 are probably going to be the only time where fantasy managers do question if they should start some of these pieces on offense. But other than that, it is looking like a phenomenal next 8 weeks of the season. So let's see if CJ Stroud can keep this up. In case you didn't hear, Kyler Murray is officially back. He will face the Atlanta Falcons this weekend in week 10. And we can all remember, Kyler Murray tore his right ACL in December of last year. And there were a lot of questions about Kyler Murray going into this season. Starting with the offseason, there were a lot of trade rumors, and then there were questions about if Kyler Murray would even return. But here we are with a healthy Kyler Murray, and this whole offense now is going to be upgraded. Marquise Brown should be a borderline wide receiver 1 with Kyler Murray back in the lineup, and Trey McBride also gets a boost. So do not hesitate to put Kyler Murray in your starting lineups. He should be a top 12 to top 15 fantasy quarterback the rest of the way. We have a pair of running backs that could actually be moving in opposite directions. So let's talk about a running back upgrade and a running back downgrade heading into week 10. Let's talk about the good news first, and that is that the running back upgrade right now is Aaron Jones. We talk a lot about Coach Speak and the Coach Speak Index. Well, Matt LaFleur backed it up in week 9. He gave Aaron Jones 20 attempts and 5 targets, which saw him get 19 fantasy points on the week. And if we look at the utilization, again, fantasylife.com to go and check this out, we can see that Aaron Jones had somewhat of the same trajectory in week 1 before that hamstring injury. He's handled 47% of the snaps. He had a 53% route participation, and in week 9 you can see 56.9% of the snaps and a 52% route participation. So it's all right there for Aaron Jones. He now upgrades to a high-end RB2 status, and it could continue if the Packers see that he is far more talented than AJ Dillon. We could potentially see him go even higher. Now this one pains me as a Seattle Seahawks fan, but it is time to downgrade Kenneth Walker. Over the last 2 games, Zach Charbonnet has led the team in snaps, and while we know that Kenneth Walker has hung on to that primary role, we can see in the utilization that Zach Charbonnet has taken over the route participation. We can see the long down and distance snaps stay at 100%, and same with the 2-minute offense. So when we look at the past 2 games, we know that in week 8, Kenneth Walker came in with a bit of an injury, and then in week 9, they went up against the Baltimore Ravens, and the game script script didn't really call for Kenneth Walker, but it is definitely time to start looking at this information, and it is time to downgrade him to a high-end RB2, but he could continue to fall depending on what kind of data points we get from him in week 10. There are a few players that are trending up right now in fantasy football, but Dwayne McFarland did a deep dive and answered the question if Jonathan Taylor is finally back to bell cow status. Let's take a look.
And if JT can hold on to this, we can expect some top 6 finishes. We can expect some number 1 overall finishes. Now, he's not been efficient, Marcus. He had 18 carries this last weekend. He had 5 targets on the day, only averaged 2.6 yards per carry, though. So he struggled against a defense also that gives up a lot of yards on the ground with the Panthers. And there could be a little bit of a bounce back, in my opinion, for Zach Moss if Taylor can't get things going in that department. 27.9% of his carries have gone for more yards than expected per next-gen stats. That is actually the 4th worst in the NFL. Moss, on the other hand, is 8th best. 44.7% of his carries go for more yards than expected. So while we know long-term, Jonathan Taylor, better player than Zach Moss. But there is such thing as the hot hand. And so I could see Moss getting a little bit more work. But overall, I did go ahead and upgrade Jonathan Taylor to high-end running back 2 status. His efficiency is the only reason that I didn't just go ahead and greenlight this and put him back into running back 1 status. Let's just make sure that Zach Moss isn't going to be like this pesky thing that we overestimate as just being completely done. And the other thing is, if you have Zach Moss on your roster, you can't have him anywhere near your starting lineups anymore, but I wouldn't drop him yet.
Now it's time to go through our underdog pick'em plays heading into week 10. And as always, remember, you can use promo code LIFE and Underdog will match your first deposit of up to $100. So make sure you go underdogfantasy.com and use that promo code LIFE. Now let's get into some of our favorite plays for the weekend. All right, now that we're all logged in at UnderdogFantasy.com, let's go through our pick'em plays for Week 10. We finally got the win last weekend as well, so we're going to keep the good times going here and get another win this weekend. I actually want to start with this game right here, San Francisco 49ers going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm going to start with none other than Christian McCaffrey. We're going to go higher on his 16.25 fantasy points. Now, I think this is just a little bit low right now. He only has not hit this number in 2 games so far this season. And over at Fantasy Life, we have him projected for 69 rushing yards and then 33 receiving yards. So here's hoping it's another big game for Christian McCaffrey. Now next up, and we're only going to do 2 because I liked what we did last weekend with the win. So we're going to stick with only 2 in our pick'em plays this weekend. I'm going to go right here. Washington Commanders going up against the Seattle Seahawks. And no, it's not because I'm biased, but I do have a good feeling about this one. So we're going to skip all the Commanders players and we're going to go down to the Seattle Seahawks because I do think this is a really good bounce back game for these guys. And we're going to go higher on the 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns for DK Metcalf. Again, just a good feeling though. I think they bounce back from that really awful game against the Ravens. They only had 151 total yards of offense. This Commanders defense is not very good at all. So I think DK Metcalf, Geno Smith, I think the whole team bounces back in this game. So now as we can see over here, let's go through it. We've got our pick'em plays for the weekend right here. Christian McCaffrey, we're going higher than 16.25 fantasy points. And then we've got DK Metcalf higher than 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns. Make sure to go lock that in. UnderdogFantasy.com. Make sure you use the promo code LIFE so you can get your first deposit matched up to $100. Good luck. All right, everyone, and that was the roundup for week 10. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. And just a reminder, make sure you go to fantasylife.com where you can get all of our tools 100% free. And while you're there, you can subscribe to the newsletter, which is in your inbox 7 days a week. Thank you so much again for watching, and good luck in week 10.